Welcome to Queerly Speaking. I'm your host, Nat Jones, and together my wife and I will navigate the complex intersections of faith, identity, love, and resilience. In each episode, we'll share stories of heartbreak, healing, and hope from individuals who were told they didn't belong in the very spaces that shaped us. Welcome back to Queerly Speaking.
Happy Monday.
Last week was fun talking a little bit about tolerance.
Or lack of.
This week we wanted to talk about where we're at spiritually. We've spent a lot of time talking about my religious upbringing, the belief systems. We had Chris on the show who grew up Mormon. We've talked to Rachel on the show who grew up pretty similar to me with a little bit of difference.
Yep.
And so the question that we often get, especially me, I get this really often, is, well, where are you at now? Do you still believe in God? What do you believe? And so I thought it would be kind of an interesting episode just to kind of talk about that.
Yeah.
And, forewarning everyone, faith is a mystery in itself. And I don't think the goal of faith is to have every piece of it figured out. So you probably will hear me talk about a lot, just also like my ideas about things as well. So, but yeah, let's get into it.
Yeah. So where, like big picture, where do you think you are if someone asks you?
Well, I definitely believe in a higher power. I just really think there's no way that you can look at the earth, like just all of the things that happen. And I know this sounds really silly, but like you look at the process of the way that plants grow and the intricacies of all of the details that go into that. And you look at how women's bodies make babies. And the intricacies of that. And then like there is so much mystery just in nature alone. I think it would be very hard for anyone. Actually, I want to be careful saying that because not everyone believes that way.
Right.
It would be very hard for me to say that there's not a God. I really genuinely believe that there is a higher power. There is a God. And I think that there's a lot of fundamental beliefs that I still follow to this day, more the morality and value system. Love your neighbor and take care of each other, and and selflessness and humility and all of that. So I'd say that's very vague, but I'd say overall, really big picture. That's what it always comes back to.
Yeah, I think I feel the same. Do you? I already know the answer to this, obviously, but you have a problem with the word Christianity.
I have a hard time with it, yeah.
Yeah. Do you think, I kind of feel this way too, so I just want to talk about it a little bit, which again, I feel like I say this every episode, but it is so interesting to compare growing up, right? Like, not to beat a dead horse with that, but when there is a bad experience and there isn't, like a trauma around something, it is so different. And I actually feel like I've almost, since knowing your story and other people have shared their stories with us and things like that, it's like, I'm trying to find the right word because it's like not, obviously I have not taken that on. That's definitely yours. I've not experienced that, but
you can,
like, I feel like, is it empathy, I guess, that I feel towards you? Like, and that has made me more like, up until then, I would have no problem saying like, oh yeah, I'm a Christian because I do believe in God. No, because I do believe in God and I do think there's a higher power and we'll get into heaven and hell and all that stuff as well. But in the past couple of years, I have more of a knee-jerk reaction to it because I think it's being not quite used correctly. And maybe it's I'm kind of comfortable saying now that I just have a problem with organized religion.
Yeah, I think that's really fair. I would have a very difficult time going back to church.
Right.
In one that I could find that it would accept me, but which is sad.
Yeah.
Because as far as like the music and the worship and all of that stuff, it was impactful. Obviously, I play the guitar. I grew up playing instruments. I grew up singing. I was in the band in church. That still really means so much to me. I really, really love that. And even in like times in my life where things are really hard, like I'll turn on an old song that I used to sing, and it really brings me a lot of comfort, and it makes me feel close to God. But it is the organized religion of it for me as well. Because, okay, so let's back up a little bit because you said heaven and hell and all that. This is what I have a hard
I
time
was skipping
with.
ahead.
What I have a hard time with is that I think that a lot of the specifically United States has used religion to get people in line and create fear.
Agreed.
I also think, and this is one of those things, like sometimes I get worried in life when I like really speak out on things that people are going to either misunderstand because it's not like so black. There are certain things that are black and white, but the thing that even makes like the political sector and like all of these other things, religious, like some of these things complicated is because it is complicated.
Right. And a lived experience, right?
And a lived experience. Yeah, for sure. Like, I think a lot of religion has been used to create fear. I think hell was created to create fear. I think that when the Bible, which we'll get to, when the Bible talks about like the root of all evil, money is the root of all evil, I genuinely believe that.
Yeah, I think they were onto something with that one.
Yeah, I genuinely think that's true. I mean, you look at churches and there's a lot of money stuff going on. And so
big picture, both of us would say we do believe in God. That would be question number one. If someone asked today,
yes,
we both would say we do believe in God. That would be question number one. Someone asked us, do you believe in God? We both say yes.
Mm-hmm.
Are you religious? What would you say?
I would say no, I'm spiritual.
Mm-hmm. And I really would, I could take it or leave it. I could say either way. Because I, from my experience, don't really see a difference. And I know you're like holding back laughter because you're like, what? How can you not? And I'm sure a lot of people listening are like, what the fuck? What is she talking about? But like in my house, it was very like, you didn't really have to go to church. Like, I don't know what, I thought she said it was Baptist, but we've talked and you're like, no. So I don't know what she said, but my mom would always say like stories about when she was growing up.
Yeah, Baptists don't speak in tongues.
That they would go to church. Well, they didn't. It was like her one aunt that did, and they thought she was like nutso. So were they against it?
But maybe it was Baptist, yeah.
Anyway, that she said that they would like go to church and it would always be like, you know, everyone's like banging on shit, like talking about the end of the world coming. Like it's just like really kind of dark and depressing. And she's like, that's not for me. And anyway, she just always kind of held that over us. Like you're not more godly or more, you know, worthy than the people that are getting dressed up on Sunday because they're doing the same shit during the week that we're doing. So go if you want to, you know, like when we went through phases, like sometimes my friends would go and I'd go with them, but sometimes they didn't, you know, like that just wasn't a big deal in my house. And it was always like, yeah, like I said, like that doesn't make you better or worse than. So yeah, I guess that where I'm going with that is I don't really have a strong opinion on whether I would say religious nor spiritual because it's never had a negative context to me, except for what I see going on in the world now.
Yeah.
But I do have a hard time with the labels. And I do have a hard time with organized religion.
Yeah.
So similar. We're pretty aligned on that.
Yeah, I would agree.
We're like, you feel more strongly about language that's used, but pretty aligned on that, I would say.
Do you believe that the Bible is what Christians would consider God-breathed with no error?
I've never even heard that. So I don't know. This is what's so funny. I'm like, no, I'm good with the term religious. Like, I can't name 5 fast facts about the Bible. Like,
you said you've never read it.
I'm like, I don't want to say spiritual. That doesn't seem like enough. And you're like, what does this mean? I'm like, no fucking idea.
You know, when we were preparing for this episode, I was like, you're going to have to ask me questions. I always forget. You don't even know the questions to ask.
I know. But I do a good job. Because they like my questions. So.
No. Your questions are good.
Drop a comment below if you agree.
Oh, Jesus Christ.
Don't say that.
See, and again, it's like,
no, I'm joking. But does that mean like they think well, let me answer what I think you're asking, and then you can maybe educate me.
Okay.
I think that it is like it's been translated by man in how many different languages. So do I think it's uninterrupted God's information? No, because you could tell me a story that you believe is 100% fact. I could go tell it to someone that's what I believe is me repeating an 100% fact. Something in that is going to be different. Even if everyone's intention is 100% pure, no one's intention is to manipulate the truth. I mean, have you ever played telephone?
Yeah, exactly. That's my point.
That's the whole thing. Like, there's going to be some things. And I think, well, I don't know. Is this a hot take? I'm going to say it anyway. Men, other people can be, but I don't think women really speak in the Bible. There's no, like, book of Sarah, is there?
There's a book of Esther, and there are some prominent.
Is that like 1 of 20?
I think so. I think that's the only.
Well, my point is...
And there were other books, but the canon they didn't fit within the canon, so it didn't go
Right.
into the Bible.
Right, exactly. And like there's probably some egos involved. And people who think they're better than. And again, I'm not here to say whether that's of malintent or not. I'm just saying people are likely twisting.
I agree.
So is that what you're asking? If I think it's uninterrupted factual information given from God?
Yes. Because one of the issues with
I guess
Christianity
no,
and homosexuality is because there's
yeah.
several verses that say, and it's interpreted as,
Right.
and there's all type of research actually that the word homosexuality wasn't even in the Bible
Right.
until the 40s. And prior to that, it was talking about like molestation.
Right.
Just like masturbation is also not in the Bible.
I would love to do more research on that. We could have a whole episode on that.
Homosexuality.
Yeah, I'd love to do more research on that, honey. No, about like where it's at in the Bible, because I really don't know that much.
Oh,
I'm just saying, I think we could have another episode.
Happy to show you. I've been shown many times.
I want to put a pin in that so I can form a better opinion.
Okay.
Obviously, I clearly think that God has no problem with it, but I'm just saying I would like to do more. I would like to put a pin in that specific topic so that I can be more well-informed.
Yeah, actually, part of the argument was, well, it's in the Old Testament, where there is, I think, 2 scriptures in the New Testament as well. But yeah, we can definitely
choosing.
Yeah,
I mean, that's kind of something as well. I mean, I know everyone does that. You know, I do that, I'm sure. I mean, everyone, right? But it's like, I don't really get that the whole thing. Like, we can't do that, but we could do this. It's like, it doesn't make any sense to me.
Yeah. Well, and I think too, it's like, I have a harder time. We just had a really deep discussion with some of our friends. Oh, no, actually, sorry, you weren't there.
I wasn't invited because I haven't read the Bible.
And we all grew up religious. Was with Chris. One was Mormonism, and then I think another one was Latter-day Saints or something like that. I can't remember exactly. And
no, that's the same thing, honey.
Oh, okay. Well, I can't remember what the other was, but you know, obviously, a really big topic is Jesus. If you believe, because in Christianity, you either believe that Jesus is the Son of God, because the Bible says that the only way to God is through Jesus, and believing that he died on the cross for our sins and all of that. And I really haven't settled. I'll be honest, like, my parents listen to this, they're going to be like, oh my God, this is so much worse than we thought.
I think if they made it to this point, they've heard worse.
But I will say this. I look at the life of Jesus, and I think that there are some things that he did and he showed that were incredibly important. Forgiveness. He was the only, he only got angry, I believe, like one time in the Bible, and it was at the church.
Oh, could not be me.
He was in there like throwing tables.
That could be me.
Yeah. And so I think, you know, I think back to the stories, like where he met the woman at the well who was a prostitute.
Oh, yeah, I know that one.
Okay, good. And the love that he showed, where most of the time, especially in that period of time, he would have just been stoned. So like the love that he shows, the friendship that he shows, the belief in something bigger than yourself. Like, I think that we could all, there would be no harm with any human person looking at the life of Jesus and saying, we should be more like him. I think that's really important. Does that mean that you have to believe that Jesus is the Son of God in order to go to heaven? Well, I guess that depends on if you believe in heaven. So I haven't really settled on that for myself. Someone asked me a couple of years ago, would it make a difference to your faith if an archaeologist dug up bones and they could prove that it was Jesus? And I'm like, would that automatically mean I no longer believe in God? Because then that would mean stories in the Bible were untrue. And the person who asked me, someone had asked her. And I've been thinking about that for years. And I don't think so, because I still believe that there is a higher power. And I think the difference is like, what does that mean to me today? Because I can't even share all of the things in my head, because I fight with myself in my head. Yeah. Because it's like, okay, well, growing up, you believe that God is omnipresent, omnipotent, like all of those things, right? Everywhere, all the time. and can be anywhere at any point. He's at just everywhere all the time. And he doesn't miss a thing. That the Bible talks about that he knows the number of hairs on your head. Like, that is how intricately detailed that he or she knows us. And I think there are like the baseline of that God loves us is profound.
Yeah.
And I think that's what it looks like. You can see it in people's lives. That's why I think I said in a different episode that I can see in people's lives when there's like a demonstration of love. And so, simply put, I believe that God is love. And so when there's a demonstration of love, I think that is God being present.
I like that.
Yeah. So what I have a harder time with is all of the other things that are attached to...
Yeah, the constraints.
Yeah.
I have a hard time with, just like you were saying, how this is so specific to Christianity. I have a really hard time with like church planting and like, I guess they are mission trips. Like, we're going to other countries and we're like, no, we're taking over. Like, I kind of have a hard time with that, because if we're all really vibing with the same thing, like, why can't you have your own way? So, I can't really speak to them. Maybe I should have done some research before this episode, sorry. But we should have Anna back on. She kind of talked about this in her episode, and I know she knows a lot about it. But, like, there's such an underlying thread between so many different religions. You know, there's just a couple, mostly speaking, like a few details that are different. Like, I don't understand what the problem with that is. I'm like, yeah, go off. Go ahead. Like,
well, because that's where there is a little bit of like Christian nationalism in the sense of like they believe that their religion is the best,
right?
And their religion, and in the Bible it says you can only have one God. So if all of these other their God is also not the Buddhist God, and it's also not Muslim God, and it's also not whatever else. And I always think that's really interesting, because it's like, really? Because every one of those religions has, like you said, a very like similar story of a person who sacrificed part of their life and in order to either explain and show sacrifice, forgiveness,
right,
creating a way to a better life. It is similar morals of don't lie, don't cheat, don't murder, don't steal.
right.
Which in my opinion, one could argue that's just like basics for being a good human.
Right.
But there are really similar, like it all kind of has the same story.
Right. But it's also just like different cultures, obviously things are going to be different. Like, not everyone in the world is celebrating Mother's Day today. People have it on many different days, but we're all doing the same thing. Like, what is the problem? What is the big, like, that does that mean they love their mom less because they're celebrating in 2 weeks? Just doesn't make sense.
No.
Like, make it make sense.
No, it doesn't. And when you're really in it, it makes sense. It's like, yeah. Oh, you're...
Right, and your pride. I get that, but
yeah.
I feel like here, this is like a whole nother topic. Now I'm kind of, I just took a nap right before this, everyone, so I was like a little bit slow moving on here, but now I'm getting there. But it's like, this could be said about religion, and this could be said about really anything. What does what someone else is doing have to fucking do with you? What does my neighbor practicing Islam, doing their best, they're 10-10, following their rules, what the fuck does that have to do with me over here if I'm practicing Christianity doing 10 out of 10? Like, I don't understand. Why am I bothered by that? But that goes to say with anything, that's because, like gay marriage, whatever, all those things.
Well, I can tell you exactly why. Because the person in a Christianity mindset, the person who is, who'd you say, Islamic?
Yeah, I was just
they're going to hell.
But it make it make sense.
No, I know,
like, okay,
but that's why we're trying to evangelize everyone. It's because you're trying to save as many souls as possible,
so
they don't burn in eternity.
That's what you need to do, Karen. Save yourself. Okay.
Yeah, I agree. But it is interesting.
It's like,
but that's why I say that when it comes to hell, and this has been a point of contention for you and I, because when you were like, I definitely believe in heaven and I definitely believe in hell because there's people that belong in hell. And I'm like,
well, let's talk about that. Again, I feel like I say this every time on the podcast, but it really is the difference in growing up. Like, I think 100% the way I learned about it and was raised about it is why I think that. Like, in my house, it was not like a hell is like something you're going to willy-nilly. You know, like, well, my parents didn't think that being gay was a sin, so they definitely weren't saying you were going for that. Like, they weren't. It was like if you're a rapist, a murderer, a pedophile, like, those are horrible things, right? Like, it's like if you're like the scum of the earth, the worst of the worst of the worst, pure evil radiates through your mind, body, and spirit, you're going to hell. So I'm like, yeah, it makes perfect sense. I still don't really have a problem with that. I'm like, yeah, you probably are, because you deserve to. I mean, if you're whatever, we don't need to go.
But here's my argument.
I'm just saying, let me finish. Sorry, lady. I'm just saying it wasn't like it was pretty black and white for me. Where at least from my takeaway from what you're saying, it wasn't that black and white, because you're thinking, oh, if I participate in homosexuality, I'm going to hell. It's like, well, of course, I wouldn't really be into it now, because God only knows what kind of people could be there. Like, your hell's got like someone who accidentally ate an apple before they checked out of the grocery store, and my hell's got like pedophiles. So it's like, well, yeah, I'm not thinking anyone who does one shitty thing is going to hell. I'm thinking pure evil.
Okay.
Yeah, you're going.
Can I share my argument now?
Yeah, I'm just letting you know.
Okay. No, and I hear you.
It's not often religiously I have something to share.
I honestly think when people listen to this episode, they're probably going to be more likely to agree with you. And they're going to be like, how, Natalie, can you think that? Here's the thing, though. I think this all goes back to the question of, do you believe people are born bad, evil?
See, I feel like that's such a gray area, but I think some people
absolutely
are.
not.
Oh, really?
Mm-mm.
See? I think some people are, I guess.
How would they be? How would they be born evil?
What do you mean? Like Ted Bundy?
Honey, but do you think...
Don't honey me.
Do you think evil made him do what he did?
Yeah.
Okay. Here's my take on it. I don't believe that human is born evil. I don't. I believe they're born good. I think they're born into goodness.
I mean, I guess, like, I don't want to go saying, like, babies are sinners. I mean, that's, like, some shit people say. I feel like that feels like a little, like...
But just hear me out. You'll understand why.
I know, I'm just saying I'm evolving as we're having a conversation.
You're like, changing my opinion.
Well, I just want to be able to chime in as I see fit.
So, I don't believe that anyone is born evil. I believe it's more like scientific based. If you look at the research of serial killers, pedophiles...
Well, yeah, they have that thing.
There's something missing, right? There's a lack of empathy. There are certain things that chemically, and I think are missing from their brain. Just like there's other babies that are born with different types of disabilities.
Okay, I don't think we should be comparing the two of those.
I'm not comparing them. I'm saying that if you are born missing something in your brain, you could be missing the piece that gives you empathy, or you could be missing a chromosome that affects you a totally different way.
Right.
Neither one of those things make you evil. What you do with that, your actions then become very evil. So then I think, and oftentimes too, serial killers, specifically pedophiles, when they're growing up, it's done to them, or there's some sort of like massive abuse and trauma in more ways than most people probably understand. I'm not taking up for them and just saying that's the scientific research based on the fact of all the research done on serial killers.
Right. I watch Criminal Minds. I know how they grow up.
Yeah. And so I think that life creates so much trauma in people that they do very evil things. Very, very evil things. And I think the more that you do evil things, especially against another human, it starts to build so much hate and anger. And I think that is really what becomes, it really like takes over a person and becomes evil. Because even I'm talking purely scientific. If you look at what anger or shame or trauma does to your physiological body, it's very different. Like it has an incredible, not in a positive way, like in a terrible impact. So I do think that people can do very evil. I mean, beyond what we can even possibly imagine. People have done awful things. I don't think that they were born evil, and I don't think that there is this like universe where in the afterlife they're going to be burned and punished forever. I don't know what happens when we die. I think that the closest thing that I feel like can be true for me is some level of like reincarnation, which is probably why when I think about things like this, people who have done evil in their life, I think that they have another chance to make it, not make it right, because that sounds like they could. They can't make it right, but I mean to grow and be a different person in the next life, or have a different experience in the next life. And because I don't think people's souls are evil. And so for me, when someone asks me about the afterlife, I guess eventually when you reach a place where you have gone through whatever it is you're meant to go through in your life and had the experiences, and you've like elevated to a certain level, then maybe there is like a place that we all go. And I think there's a lot of research that shows that people's souls live multiple lives. And I actually personally do not think that contradicts Christianity.
That's a hot take, I think.
Yeah, I mean, why would it? Because let's say that the heaven is when you have learned. The whole point of Jesus, in my opinion, was to show people how to live a good life, was to show people what goodness looks like. And I think that's the point of reincarnation too, is for you to learn empathy and learn goodness and learn like all of these things, that you can really be the most impactful version of yourself possible, the most selfless, the most humble, the most like, whatever. So yeah, I just think it's interesting. And I think it's easy for humans in general. That's why I kind of giggle at you, because I think it's easy. And hell is something very easy to get on board with. Mm-hmm. Yeah. You little pedophile, you're going to hell.
Right. It's like gives you kind of a little sense of like justice.
Yeah.
And
I get that. Believe me, I get that. I get it more than anybody. I just don't know if it's like as simple as that.
Yeah, that's fair.
So
I'm not like, ride or die on this. I'm just letting you know.
No, you could be whatever you want. I think another interesting question that we ask ourselves a lot is, are we going to teach our kids stories from the Bible? Well, it would have to be me, unless I get you some books, but
I'm pretty familiar with the Noah's Ark. in the apple. Is that in Genesis?
The apple?
Yeah.
Like from Eve?
Yeah.
Yes.
How many chapters in is Noah's Ark? I think that's as far as I've ever made it.
It's also in Genesis.
Cool.
Yeah.
Well, I'll do those. I'll get us started. I'll get the ball rolling.
Well, the question is like, are we going to? Are we going to?
I don't know. I think it definitely would be you. I think I feel most comfortable saying I would let you, oh God, it feels so like trad wife to say lead our family in that. But
what's a trad wife?
Oh God, honey, get on the internet. I'll show you some TikToks later. But I think I would, because my lesson would last like a day. So, like, you know what I mean? But I think you could spin it. Like, I felt like for the little stint, I always joke about the little stint I was going to church. But well, I don't joke about it. I really was. Like, they would teach a lesson. I'd be like, oh, yeah, that makes sense. Like, I can take that and apply it to my life. Like, great. I do think it's good to have that. Yeah. So maybe I think it would kind of be nice to teach them that if you wanted, but I don't know that I feel like we need to be sitting down on Sundays and it's like Sunday Bible study.
No.
That feels like a bit much. And praying, like I pray before I go to bed.
Mm-hmm. What was it I said the other day?
Speak over them.
That every night I'm going to speak over them, which is actually like so much more like Christianese than you even realize.
Christianese?
Yeah. Because, like we would be like, yeah, I'm just going to speak words of goodness over you, which is pretty much like saying you're going to pray. But I have a hard time saying I'm going to pray. So I'm like, I'll speak goodness over you.
It's interesting because that sounds more, like Christian-y to me.
Yeah. I don't know. It just felt like me.
Yeah. That's fine. But I would do that.
But I think that's really powerful. See, that's the thing that I'm like, sometimes maybe I just have a problem with the words, because I really believe that.
I think you do.
There is a lot of power in what you say and what you say to a child.
Definitely.
I think it's incredibly empowering.
And I think it's just nice.
Detrimental.
Right. I think it's just nice to have something like more to believe in as well. And then as they get older, like they can take that and run with it or run away from it or do whatever they want. But I think it's, like that brought me a lot of comfort as a kid. I think when I felt like I didn't have my parents or I didn't have something, like, I could just say a little prayer or, do whatever. And of course then it's complicated, because what if like what you prayed for doesn't happen? And then you're like, hello, like, this thing on, you're like, what's going on up there? And you kind of don't really understand that's not how it works. Anyway, I think just knowing that there's something to look forward to and something else to lean on is really powerful.
Yeah, I do too.
I would want them to have that.
And maybe the answer is, for who we are, maybe the answer is that we tell them stories of the Bible and stories of Jesus, and then we also tell them stories of other religions too. I think any story that shows, well, I know, yeah, any story that shows like morality, and any, and this is interesting because it came up with Chris too, and I was like, I think about this often. It's like if they don't go to church, how are they going to learn values? And she made a really good point. She goes, I think sometimes that it's actually the lazy way out. It's like letting your kids learn everything about everything from school versus you telling them first, or the church, then you showing them. What does it look like to care for your neighbor? What does it look like to be a good person? What does it look like to have a strong work ethic?
Yeah. Yeah, I agree. I think those are all good lessons. And I think what's just important is like, which again, I mean, I keep saying this, but it's easier for me to say than you because I've not had the experiences that you have of being vilified and all of that. But it's more just like, we're not going to let someone doesn't get to take away our connection to God. Or someone doesn't get to invalidate our faith just because they think like one way. And I want the same thing for our kids. Like if we choose to raise them a certain way and we choose to tell them the stories, like that's our prerogative. Like people don't get to make us feel like we don't deserve that in our house because they don't agree with something.
Mm-hmm. I agree. Because if you listen to last week's episode, you would know that they won't be in our house.
Yeah, exactly. And you would also know that I don't give a book. But I think that's good to learn. And I think you just evolve. Like the older you get, the more life experience I get. I see things differently. I think the same with you. Yeah, I think you don't know what you don't know. Mm-hmm. Right? But that's why it's called faith. It's not called facts.
That's where I started with is it's a mystery. So it's not like...
Right. That's what I'm saying. But it's just like, this is something that we believe in. It's not like, yeah.
Well, the reason it becomes like so crazy is it is for Christians in general, it is like life and death. And so, yeah, I mean, people do ask me all the time, would you consider yourself a Christian? I'm like,
yeah, I think you just have a knee-jerk reaction. I think it's a knee-jerk reaction from a trauma. And I think a lot of people have that. But...
And there's a stigma to it as well. Okay, First of all, if I say that I'm Christian, my next thing is I'm going to say, but I'm not a white supremacist, and I am pro-choice, and I'm obviously pro-gay, and it's like, I believe that we should take care of foreigners and immigrants and like all this. So I feel like it's like this thing. So it's easier for me to be like,
I know.
I believe in a higher power.
But even that is sad. Like it's sad, obviously not all Christian people think those ways, but it's sad how much it's kind of taken over and it makes you feel, that's why I said at the beginning, it's more like organized religion we don't like. Like, if you say that, you never know where people are going to think that you fall. And I want the opportunity to let someone like know me and then understand like where I come from. And sometimes I'm sorry to say, but a couple bad apples really are out here giving people a bad name.
Yeah. And honestly, the sad part is that I think
in every direction,
the majority of the world could really learn a lot in their lives by reading the book of Proverbs.
Maybe I'll start with that one.
You should. It's like literally just life skill upon life skill.
Is it just peaceful?
Yeah. Yeah, it literally is. And it's like, it's like, don't go into debt. Like, don't.
Yeah, shit, where was that when I was 20?
Like, debt creates, it's like, well, I mean, I knew the Bible, look at me. Debt it's like you're a slave to the debt. And I'm like, yeah, that's fucking true.
Yeah, that is true.
And it just like has so many like things in there. And you're like, it talks about friendship. It talks about all sorts of things.
Yeah, sometimes I just feel like people's reading comprehension is not that great.
Yeah, honestly,
I feel like we're out here reading the same thing, and I'm like, I don't know what the fuck you read, but...
The sad part is that I think a majority of the people who would fall into this other bucket that I just listed of, like white supremacists and all these other things, probably have never read the Bible.
Yeah, that's true. I
mean, yeah, have you seen those TikTok clips where they'll like go out to different like rallies or like get-togethers or different things, and they'll be like, so you believe gay people should go to hell? And they're like, yes. And they're like, and where in the Bible does it say that? And they're like, I don't know.
Right, exactly. It's just like bandwagon things.
Yeah, and it's like just like and it's not even just that. He would ask about being pro-choice or not. He would ask about having an affair. Like he'd ask about all this different stuff, and they'd be like, well, I don't know. Just like so uneducated. And it's like, then why don't you form your own opinion based on education?
And there's no shame in saying that you don't know. I mean, half this podcast is me saying, I don't know what the fuck you're talking about.
Yeah, but you also don't go around saying you know
But
when
that's
you
what I'm
really
saying.
don't.
Yeah, exactly. That's another reason why I'm not like big on using that term or saying I'm whatever. I guess like saying that I subscribe to one religion because I'm like, well, if I really do, I should probably learn a little bit more about it. You know what I mean? Like you can't be a part of a club where you don't know that much about it.
Yeah.
I feel like
Well, I think
successfully.
that's the whole point. It's not really a club. It's not supposed to be a club.
Exactly.
But
Here we are.
here we are. Yeah. So I don't know. I don't know. Are you afraid to die?
Oh yeah, honey. Are you serious?
I'm asking for them, not for me.
Oh yeah, petrified.
But are you afraid to die because you don't know where you're going? Or you're just afraid of death in general.
I think it's all of it. Yeah, actually, if we spend too much time talking about this, I probably will cry later. I'm not even joking. Like I'm gonna have some sort of episode. Like I'm serious, but we will for the sake of the podcast. Yeah, petrified. Absolutely petrified. That it's just gonna be like I do believe in heaven. So and I used to get in fights with my mom about this because she would say that it makes, which is so funny, like these little phrases, and then I'm like, we didn't even grow up religious, which is true, we didn't. But then it's like some things she'd really like, harp in on. But she would say that made me a bad Christian because I shouldn't be afraid of it because I'm just going to go to heaven. I'm like, okay, cool. Like, I get that, but I am. So, like, I'm 7. I literally would be a kid and I would have, like, my mom and my grandma would have to come in, like, if I was taking a bath. And because I'd be having, like panic attacks about dying one day.
So sad, honey.
I know, thanks.
I think that's because your health anxiety?
Oh, I'm sure it's really intertwined. But I feel like it's just like, then I'm just going to be like, poof, like there's nothing. Maybe if I could get on board with reincarnation, I'd be like looking forward to my next life more. I don't know that I really feel like you do that, but maybe you do. I'm open to it. I'm not against feeling like you do that. I think I need to spend some more time with those thoughts.
You should read the book that my friend gave me. It's wild.
I'm scared that it's going to send me like into a spiral. I try not to investigate these things because I freak out too much.
No, it's not like that at all.
I feel pretty confident that I'm going to heaven. I do believe in heaven. I'm not exactly sure, like, what the circumstances are of that, Like, I don't really know what the layout is.
You seem to jive with the Mormons' view of heaven.
No, because that was, like, multi-layered. Well, I was okay with the way Chris said it, but other people have said it to me, and I'm like, I don't know if I'm into that.
Okay, sorry.
But I was, what she said, like, this is the heaven I'm comfortable, like, I'm good with here. Yeah, that would be good.
But then what would the point be of that?
Well, because you're just, like, getting eternal peace.
Okay.
But I'm like, is there talking going on up there? In my heaven, there absolutely is. I don't know. It just is like the unknown. Like I don't do well with that. I feel like it's just pitch darkness. I can't spend too much time thinking about it.
Well, if you are in darkness, like if there's not an afterlife, you won't know. You'll just be gone.
I know, but I feel like I will know.
Like Jehovah's Witnesses believe that if you're not the one going into heaven, like you're not one of the chosen ones, then it's just the Bible talks about the dust you were created and then dust you'll be.
Yeah, I guess in theory,
It's like you could
what
go back and
difference
be
will
part
it
of the
make to
earth.
me? But I feel like I'll be unsettled or something. Like I feel like I'll be aware that there's like nothing, and that sounds freaky as fuck.
Yeah, I don't think you would be if that's even how it goes. But
yeah, I hope not. But I do think my health anxiety. I'm sure it's.
Yeah,
I mean, I think I'm near death pretty more often than the average person. I would say.
I hope whatever it is, we get to be together with Rue.
Definitely. I do believe that. See, that's weird. I believe that. I think, like, my grandma's up there, like, your lost relatives. Like, I think they're all in there. We're going to be like, what's up? But I just feel like I have a hard time thinking about getting there without going into panic.
Do you think people, let's just play this out for a second. Like, let's say they're all up there, right? And then when we die, we're going to go up there. How do they know which, if you've been divorced, which spouse to go with?
I guess you go with your soulmates. If you fumbled the bag and the first one really was your soulmate, I think you're going to them.
I don't think there is a soulmate, but.
Okay. What? You don't think I'm your soulmate?
Yes, but I don't think there's one soulmate for every person.
Like you could have multiple. So
Yeah.
you think if I die, you'd find another bitch?
Okay. I told you this the other day. I was like almost on the verge of tears. I can't imagine my life without you. I can't imagine loving anyone the way that I love you. So let's just let that be settled there.
Thank you, babe.
All I'm saying is that the way that I grew up, this is why I have a hard time with this. It's not to hurt your feelings. Growing up in the type of Christianity that I grew up in, they believe in courtship. You don't date. Like you find the one. There's only one. You find the one. There's a lot of fucking pressure on finding the one.
No offense, but the speed at which you guys were getting married in your community, I don't think you're finding the one. I think you're finding a one, and you're like
banging.
Yeah.
No, I agree, but I just mean like that's why. And let's be clear. Let's say that this God that everyone follows said in the beginning, you have a one. right? Now it's fucked up because someone else has married someone else's one there, and it's all messed up. Like, it just doesn't even make logical sense.
Well, I think it's more like your soul is connected to mine.
Yes, but I think that is not just like, I think my soul connection to you is beautiful and deep and unlike anything else. My soul connection to another person would be its own thing.
Yeah, but like a little bit less than.
Right. Yes.
That's all I'm saying.
Yeah.
No, I get it. I mean, if I do die after we just talked about this, I know
Baby,
we can,
nobody
like, be
could
alone
ever
forever,
be you.
But yeah, thank you. You're right. Do you think this was another hot topic in my house as a kid? I'm not sure why. Do you think like they say like, oh, your like guardian angels are watching over you? Do you believe that? Why are you laughing? Like, you look like you want to laugh. My eyes are watering.
Who do you think is your guardian? Who do you think is your guardian?
That's my grandma, of course.
Oh yeah, no.
But it's okay, you guys. You don't believe it. I don't know.
No,
why. I don't know why this is.
So you believe that your
I'm
grandma
not going to be upset. Why you say? But don't. If you're going like this, don't patronize me.
No, I'm not. I swear to God. So you believe that your grandma is?
Well, I don't know if she's like the one. I don't know if it's like.
You.
I don't want to say it's her full-time job. I mean, the lady like needs to rest. She did a lot down here.
I don't know. You probably keep her busy.
Like get a pedicure or something. And some things I don't want her to be watching over. Obviously, grandma. Maybe between the hours of 9 to 5, you can clock in, and then you're done after that. But yeah, I guess I'd like to feel like it brings me comfort to know that she sees my moments, or that there's someone like kind of watching out for me. But that would be like a hot take in my house. My mom would say that can't be true because she would never know peace. Like if she could see us and she knew that we were here and she was without us.
Your mother doesn't
like
know anything.
Times that we would, cry. She doesn't know how to listen to podcasts, so she didn't hear it. She, like if we would cry because we missed her, like that would be too heartbreaking for her if she was watching that. To live in eternal peace.
Oh, I think if the theory that we're going with is that at some point, maybe multiple lives, maybe not, you wind up at a place of eternal peace, then I think it's fair to say that the people who have already gone before us, who are living in peace, it would be, I feel like, logical for them to say that they are watching over us.
Right.
Does that mean they're protecting us, or does that mean they're watching your life play out?
Yeah, I think it's probably a little bit of both. Like, I don't know that they can, you can't stop something bad that's going to happen. Mm-hmm. But sometimes you do feel like, oh, someone really had my back today.
Yeah. I think that's God.
Yeah, with a little help.
Yep.
But I think it's just like you said, like with heaven and hell and those things, like again, because I don't have any negative connotation, like I get to cling on to those things because they just make me feel like a little bit better.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. When someone says...
that really kind of made me emotional.
Yeah. Well, I don't want to really say much more about
angels,
because I don't want to upset you.
No. I want you to because I don't care. It's not changing my opinion at all. I was asking. I really want to know what you think.
I don't know. I guess I haven't really thought about it a lot because immediately when you asked me that, I was like, I just think back to all the other things I learned about angels and growing up that we would say, that God would send angels on his behalf to protect you, to go after, or not go after you, but like to protect you, to aid in and help you. So it caught me off guard. I guess I just never really thought about it in that way, that he has like an army, or she has an army of. But see, it's so complicated for me because then it would be like, okay, well then we would go back to the first story of when Lucifer was cast down from heaven to hell. Yeah, see, that's what I'm saying.
Like, I'm not taking things back like you.
Yeah, so it's like, I don't know. Do I believe that the universe is watching out for us? Yes. Do I believe that the universe is working on a daily basis to work things out for our good? I do believe that. I think that's really hard for people to believe sometimes, but that's something I really do believe. I do believe that things get better over time. To clarify, like a lot of times I think people have a harder time aging, but I think that the more your experience in life, the more you mature, it's like fine wine. I just think it gets better and better. You get better at life. You get better at loving. You get better at being kind. You get better at whatever. So, yeah.
Yeah, I love it.
Yeah.
We'll keep learning together.
Yeah, we will.
And in a couple episodes, I'll have read some of the Bible.
Don't count on it. But well, thanks for listening, guys. Oh, this was interesting to you.
Let us know where you're at, what you think.
Yeah, I really would love, and I would love to have a conversation with either someone from a different religion or someone who grew up very similar to me. I would just really love to get into some of the like nitty gritty of it and because I'm always open to being challenged and all of that. We are. And sorry. Anyway.
I'm just here.
Yeah, no, you're not. You're such a beautiful part of this.
Thanks, honey.
And yeah, okay. Well, thanks. Thanks
Have
for
a good
listening.
week.
Have a good week, guys.